Welcome to another video from Demystifying Proposals. This is number 6 in our proposal disaster series. And in this one, I'm going to talk about my experience with FEDSIM orals and when being the first to do something is fun. So this really wasn't a proposal disaster in the way that the other proposal disaster videos have been. FEDSIM, for those of you who don't know, is part of GSA's Federal Acquisition Service, and they manage a very large IT portfolio, and they're very fond of video oral presentations, which are a lot to do and a lot to manage. My company decided to bid on a FEDSIM contract that required video orals, but nobody at my company had ever done it before, including me. So this was my journey. Others may have different experiences. The RFP requirement was a 90-minute video oral presentation. Only key personnel could present in the video, and the video had to present your technical approach in compliance with Section L, Section M, Section C, as well as high-level pricing and staffing. There was no format given for the slides other than both the slides and the presenter had to appear in the video. Here's a little background on the orals presentation from a capture perspective. As I said, no one else had done FEDSIM orals in my part of the company, which was a Fortune 500 large business worth billions. This proposal was for $125 million, which was the largest in our pipeline for this business unit. It was a recompete of work we already had, but they wanted to move to a new technology stack, which we had actually pitched them. So, in other words, it was ours to lose. And while nobody at the company had done video orals, somebody did know a guy who had done them before. And I talked to him about what the requirements were, and he sent me a template for the slides, which of course had to be tailored for our company's brand standards, but it was a good place to start. And he had very specific ideas about how to shoot the video, including wanting to film over 2 weeks with all 5 key personnel with a specific script and slides that had already been finalized. So we laid out the slides just like a written proposal. The structure was based on the proposal instructions in Section L. And then we layered in the Section M requirements, and then we added the Section C statement of work requirements within that structure. With just the outline, we had 45 slides for a 90-minute presentation. And that was before we actually wrote to the solution. When we were done with the slides, we had 110 slides for a 90-minute presentation. And as I said, the contractor orals coach was adamant about having a script for the slides. However, we were starting to run out of time, and the key personnel were only available for 1 week instead of the 2 that he wanted them to be available for. And one of them didn't work for us, so we didn't have any control over his availability. So we had 1 week to try and do all of this. So we started with everyone just reading what was on the slides without commentary to get a sense of whether we were even close to the 90-minute requirement. And amazingly, we had only 80 minutes of content in our now completed slides. Then we had the key personnel write their own scripts based on the output from the teleprompter of the live reading. And for many, the slides got a lot longer. They got too long, particularly for the solution architect who had the solution graphics to explain and wanted to go into intimate detail. The rehearsals were incredibly helpful. We had one guy, one of the key personnel, who was a part-time actor, and he coached the others on how to project and how to appear comfortable even when they weren't, and also on what to do with their hands, which became critical when we had to edit the video. We cut down the script of the one guy who was a non-native speaker. His accent was heavy, but we wanted his message to come through, and so we cut down the script to make it easier to understand. We recorded everyone with their full script. And, as you can imagine, we changed the slides numerous times. We changed the scripts numerous times. But with the rehearsals, 3 of them, we got it down to 100 minutes. Remember, the requirement was 90. So I panicked. I'm like, how do we get from 100 minutes to 90 minutes? But the orals contractor said it was no problem. We would edit it. And the program manager and I spent 4 hours with the video editor. We removed all the and the ahs and other extraneous words. We did take out one whole section of details from the solution architect that we didn't think we needed. And we got the thing down to 90 minutes. And we won. So, what were my lessons learned? First and foremost, you can have more slides than you would think. In the end, we had more than 100 slides for a 90-minute video. The section slides didn't have more than a simple script of what the section was, like section 1, right? So that helped with even though we had 100 slides, a lot of them didn't have content that really needed to be talked to. But the requirement was that every slide had to be talked to. So we had a script that was something like just section 1 for those section slides. The rehearsals were crucial, and yes, it took a significant time commitment from everyone involved. But having someone who was comfortable in front of the camera to help coach the others, we were very lucky that that happened to be one of the key personnel. But I would suggest that if you have to do this kind of orals thing, maybe having somebody who is comfortable in front of a camera to help coach was a great asset. Slow down the teleprompter, the words coming up on the screen for people to say. It's tempting to want to speed it up to get everything into the video in the time allotted, but it makes the video much harder to follow if people are speaking too quickly. You lose your audience and you lose your message. I will say also that another lessons learned was doing FEDSIM orals is really expensive. We had to have an outside consultant and his crew, and we had to pull people out of their daily jobs for more than a week. But editing is your friend. We cut out 10 minutes with the video editor by just removing extraneous language and only a few actual paragraphs of pertinent text. As a postscript, I became the de facto FEDSIM expert in the company, and I helped on 2 other video orals teams for the company. We won one, we lost one. For the second video I worked on, we actually used a commercial studio, which was good for filming against a green screen, but they weren't there to help us with content. So something to think about when you're working on this kind of video orals. What, do you use an orals coach like you would for other kinds of orals, or do you use a video commercial studio? You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. I hope you learned something from this video from Demystifying Proposals. If you like the video, please click on the thumbs up and like it. Ring the bell to make sure that you are aware of other videos that come out. Thanks.